Hi everyone, Sandy here with my Mom Glow, where my goal is to support families through pregnancy, birth, breastfeeding, postpartum, and beyond with confidence, with education, and hopefully to empower parents to feel good in their parenting skills and in their day-to-day life. So today I want to talk about something that almost every mom has either said to me at some point or something that I've even felt as a mom. It's feeling guilty. Guilty for going back to work, guilty for taking some time to yourself, guilty for taking a shower, like things that really shouldn't feel guilty about. Um, you know, it's okay to want those 5 minutes to yourself so that you can regroup and that you can take a breath. I still need it, and my babies are a lot older. I remember feeling a lot of guilt when I had to go back to work when my babies were little. As a midwife, I have felt guilt throughout their entire life because I have had to leave them sometimes for hours, even days, because I was caring for other families. Um, you know, a lot of different professions, especially in healthcare, we have to become selfless and we have to give ourselves to other families. And sometimes we feel like our families get the short end of the stick, which can happen. But what if I told you that taking care of yourself isn't selfish? It is actually one of the greatest gifts that you can give to your children because it is an example that you set. That setting boundaries and taking care of yourself is something that not only you do for yourself, but you do for your family. Because in order to be able to take care of your family, you have to be feeling good. You have to be healthy. You have to feel strong and mentally and emotionally ready, right? So, as a midwife, I've cared for thousands of families, and I feel like most of the moms that I care for at some point, either in their pregnancy or in their birth, postpartum, or even breastfeeding experience, they've said that they have felt guilty. Going back to work is actually one of the biggest ones, and that's the one that I remember experiencing. When I had my first son, he, we were young, and I had to go back to work when he turned 6 weeks. 6 weeks is a very early time frame, and many moms have to do that even nowadays. So I wasn't, unique by any means, but it was definitely something that taught me that unfortunately we have a lot of work to do when it comes to supporting moms who are going back to work. But having said that, and having experienced that, I understand and can really feel empathetic to moms that are going through that, that feeling of guilt, because I went through it. So I get it, right? But we're also needing to understand why. We're going back to work because we have to financially take care of our family, right? And because this is our career and this is the profession that we went into. Like in my case, I was a midwife, and I had to be able to tend to the families that I was caring for. And in a lot of ways, it really taught me how to figure out other ways to spend time with my family and to set boundaries and to be able to, stay home when I could stay home and put that extra time with either just sitting with my kids or watching a movie or let's go for a walk. And, every little time spent for me was completely valuable. But then when I had to go back to work, I still felt guilty. And we have to understand that it's a very normal part of the journey. Some moms feel guilty because, let's say, they couldn't breastfeed and they had no choice but to formula feed. And I feel like we live in a society now that doesn't place as much judgment as I feel in the past has, but we still have judgment out there, and we need to understand that every person's journey is unique to them. And in my opinion, I feel like every mom is doing the best that they can with what they have. And so if you can't breastfeed and you have to formula feed your baby, That's okay. You shouldn't feel guilty about something that is out of your control or that is not attainable for your situation. Because at the end of the day, you still love your baby the same way. You still want to bond with your baby the same way, right? It may not be in the way that you envisioned or you thought was the way that was going to happen, but being able to find a way to closure from that and a way to find peace with whatever decision that you and your family decide to make is best is what is needed. And not feeling guilty because of that decision. There's other ways to bonding. There's other ways to feeding. There's other ways to still being the best parent that you can possibly be, right? I have moms that tell me, I feel so guilty I had a C-section. Well, sometimes those circumstances are out of our hands too, right? Unfortunately, there are a lot of things in parenting journeys that are not always in our control. And we can do everything in our power to educate ourselves, to be prepared, to plan, to write the birth plans, to get the right team around us, to have a doula, to, everything in our mind, in the way that we envision it is exactly how it should be. But then something changes. And then something happens, or we have to go to plan B, and that's okay. What we have to understand is that we're human and things happen, and the fact that we are acknowledging that is the first step to healing and closure. And what I tell moms all the time is it's really important to be able to talk to other moms, or at least talk to some people or a person that you feel safe with being vulnerable with, being able to vent, like in my case, I enjoy being able to be that person that the mom can talk to and just completely feel open to expressing how she's feeling or what she was going through. At the end of the day, especially in parenting, the old saying, it takes a village, well, this is really true. Mothers weren't meant to mother by themselves. Just like I posted a video of, we weren't meant to birth by ourselves. We were not meant to mother by ourselves. In many cultures and during history, you see a lot of mothers being taken care of by the grandmothers or their mothers, and other aunts or friends in the community that would come and step in and cook for the mother and clean for her and help with older children or whatever they needed. And that's actually very, very important. It is so healthy and so supportive and so empowering to have that village. And if you don't have that village, it's important that you find that village, because when you feel mom guilt because you have to go back to work, or you feel, I couldn't breastfeed and now I feel like I'm going to be judged, or, I feel like I, should have had a vaginal birth and I had a C-section, and then you don't have a way to express that, that can really weigh on you heavily. And that can lead to other issues in the postpartum. That could lead to depression. That could lead to unnecessary anxiety and stress that we don't really need as parents, right? There's enough stress and anxiety around being a parent to begin with, especially if it's your first time. First time parents, the stress of, am I doing it right? Or is the baby okay? And watching them the whole night because you want to make sure they're breathing. That's normal for first timers, but adding a layer of stress, of guilt on top of that is just not necessary and not healthy. And I will tell you, a lot of this guilt comes from social media comparisons, pressure to be the perfect mom, unrealistic expectations, which we all do. I'm guilty of that as well. Comparing ourselves to, highlighted reels that we've seen or books that we've read. And it's just not necessary. Every parent's journey is going to be unique to their situation and to their family. So we shouldn't compare ourselves or our situation to others that we see, because especially when it comes to social media, they can show you one thing, but behind closed doors, it's probably a completely different thing. And one thing that I want to say, which is the example that we set for our children, is that you cannot pour from an empty cup. That is really important to remember. So, imagine trying to breastfeed your baby and care for your toddler and support your partner, and you're working and you're trying to clean the house, and you never refill that cup. You never refill that energy and that time. Eventually, there's nothing left to give, and you're exhausted and you're cranky and you're short-tempered, even maybe with your toddler, for them being a toddler. That's kind of where the cycle starts, right? So if we take a step back and say, okay, I have all of this load in front of me that I have to take care of, and it's my responsibility, but what can I do so that I can still have a moment to myself, so I can still have a moment to take a shower and to eat, or to take a walk outside, or to read a book, or something that I like? What can I take away from it? Yeah, I know the laundry has to get done, but there's still clean laundry in the drawer. I'll get it done in the morning. That way, I have that moment to myself, or that way I have that moment to eat something and nourish my body, especially in the postpartum. So those are the little things that can be done, and the little things that we have to think of, where we can't take on the world when the world needs us. We have to let everyone know, we have to let the world know that I can take on this much, and I'm setting my boundaries, and we're gonna take it day by day, step by step. I say this because I still get mom guilt. My babies are 16 and 20 right now, and I still call them my babies because they will always be my babies. But I find myself, and even though they're older and they don't typically want to hang out with me anymore, which, FYI, if you've got babies, just enjoy them because they eventually don't want to hang out with you. I still feel like I need to do so much to spend time with them, and I need to make all these efforts because I'm busy and I'm working and I'm taking care of things, and I haven't seen them, I haven't talked to them, I have to, oh my gosh, am I doing the right thing? And they're practically grown, right? So this is a normal thing that mothers go to, even way until they're 16 and 20 years old. And it's okay. It's a normal feeling that we have because as moms, we want to do the best, and we want to be perfect, but nothing is perfect. And in fact, it's okay not to be perfect. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to take time to yourself and take a bubble bath, or go get a pedicure, whatever it is that you like, or go get a massage. Because when you come back from that, you are going to feel good. You're going to feel rested. You're going to feel more, level-headed. And your children are watching that. And they're observing your actions or reactions to the actions. And they're observing how you go through your day-to-day. So whether they're a newborn or they're a teenager, it is so important to understand that your mom guilt should not define you as a mother. And if you are feeling more than just guilt or feeling overwhelmed and getting to the point where now you're having to pull yourself out of a dark place, it is so important that you talk to someone that you feel safe with, someone that you can completely feel vulnerable with and open with without judgment. And if you don't have someone in your corner like that, if you feel like you need extra help, there's so many resources out there that can hopefully get you to someone that you can talk to. There's a lot of community resources like Healthy Start, the WIC program. You can talk to your provider, your midwife, your OB, and they most likely have a list of resources for you to be able to talk to someone and feel good. That's the goal, is to feel good about your parenting journey and to feel empowered as a parent. So if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts. Please like, follow, and subscribe. See you on the next one.